Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to the live episode of the Butterfly Evolution Show and Relationship Table Talk. I'm excited for our special guest tonight, Miss Angela Hayes. Angela, can you hear me? Thank you. You look fabulous.
I can. Hello, you. Thank
All right,
you.
all
So do
right.
you.
Thank you. Look, I went to get my ladies. For all the ladies, make sure you get your wine and your wine glasses. I found my butterfly glass. Angela, you have to show them your glass so we can get some things
Yes.
going on here.
This is my
So that glass was made,
made
and
by
we're going to share.
Honeybee Stevens, Honeybee Custom.
All right, all right. I am getting a little bit of feedback. Is your volume down? Do you have Facebook up or anything? And if so, turn the volume down, and that'll kill
I
that
do not.
feedback. Okay, all right. So,
I
welcome
don't.
again, you guys. We have a very exciting
Is that
show.
better?
That is. So we have an exciting show for you tonight. As I said, Miss Angela
Okay.
Hayes is with us, and she and I have had an opportunity to have many conversations one in particular that resulted in me asking her, "Hey, would you be a guest on the show?" And she said yes, I think without much thought. So I'm excited about tonight's topic, which is dating with a purpose, but we're talking about the representative. What happens? Who is the representative? What happens when the representative shows up? How do we handle it? And many, many more things. Dating in 2021 amidst COVID and so much more. Rodney, I believe, is going to be joining us here shortly. So, what I'll do is just go ahead and get everybody welcomed in. Again, thank you. Um, this is Butterfly Evolution Radio Show and Relationship Table Talk. Butterfly Evolution is simply about change, purpose, owning your stuff, no matter where you are, who you are, where you come from, taking responsibility for all of those things. That was one of the hardest things for me to do, because much of life, much of who I had become was because of the experiences I had experienced. But more importantly, even with my dating, it was how I perceived those things, my reality of those things, my thought process, the mark that it left on me. It is a saying that we are the sum total of the experiences that have happened to us. I believe that, but I also believe that sum total comes from how we perceive those things. Our thoughts about those things that have happened to us is what lingers and continues to affect us, especially in this dating world, especially because we have to show up whole. We have to show up who we are, which is what we're talking about tonight. And often it is difficult to do that. So, Butterfly Evolution is about making that change, taking responsibility. Relationship Table Talk is about helping people build and maintain those healthy relationships. So, after you do the change, after you make a commitment to yourself that this is what I need to do and this is how I'm going to do it, you have to show up for those relationships. You have to show up, not the representative. Angela says all the time, the rep can only go for so long before he or she shows up. So that's what this show is about tonight. We welcome your comments, questions. I'll keep my eye on the comment section here. Thanks, everyone. I see that you guys have already gotten started in the comments, so we'll get to those. We'll stop, address your comments and questions, and we'll take it from there. So, Miss Angela said to me one day as we were conversating, she says, I feel like the dating guru because, I've had the dates, but I feel like, when a guy asks me what I'm looking for, she says, I no longer say what I'm looking for. I say, who are you? Allow me to see who you are. So, Miss Angela, will you introduce yourself? Tell us as much as you'd like for us to know, and then tell me about that statement. Tell the audience
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. I'm Angela. As she said, I am 45 years old. I am a divorcee of 6 years, almost 7, and basically, I am in a place in my life where I'm living freely, and I'm living and not just existing, as opposed to just going about the everyday monotonous routine of work, home, work, home. I'm actually in a great space. Therapy has helped me a whole lot get through a lot of hurt, a lot of things that I've gone through, even from a child. And it continues to help me to progress as a woman in today's society. So basically, that statement came about because I have basically tested the waters with my own dating life. And, you know, you meet a gentleman and he is like Prince Charming almost from the start. And he's like, well, what are you looking for? And in my past experience, I have given an answer to that question. And I always get what I say in the beginning. But again, as I reiterated to Tammy or the butterfly, I said the representative can only last about 3 months. I in 90 days tops before the real deal shows its true colors. So that's where that comes from. It just comes from my experience in the dating world in today's society.
So when you're asked, welcome, Rodney, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So when you're asked that question, what are you looking for? And you tell the guy or that guy, I'm looking for you to show me who you are. What kind of
Mm-hmm.
comments, or have you received a comment?
I have. I've had some say, okay, well, that should be easy enough to do because that's all I can do is be myself. But it never turns out that way. Or I've gotten, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, you know, if I go into it, then I, again, be giving you the answer to your question, which I don't want to. I want you to figure out who you are and show me just that.
I remember you said that it's once you tell the person what you're looking for, it's then easy for them to represent that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when you're an instructor, you know, when you're giving a test, you want them to actually go home and study the material. You don't want to give them the answers. And so I feel like it's the same way in the dating world. When you meet someone, it's easy for them to ask what you're looking for so they can give you exactly that until they get tired of being that because that was really not what they intend on doing. So my answer is always going to be the same. I just want to get to know the real you. Can you do that? Can you tell the truth? Can you be yourself? Because a lot of people are out here doing things based on what they've learned, which a lot of behaviors that we've learned are not the right thing to do. So yeah, that's kind of how I face that.
Okay, so we're gonna have a male perspective here in a minute because I'm gonna ask a male
Hi,
female
Rodney.
question. So, do you guys
Hi.
feel that? Because I was having a conversation and it came up that this person said women have this issue more than men. What they said was men will show up in their dirty socks, dressed down, whatever, to for the first date, whatever. And this person said that men basically show up how they are. Now, I disagree. I totally disagree. Maybe not to the degree that we go through because we do the hair. It probably takes a while before we put the bonnet on, or some other things. What do you guys think about that? Do you think men have this issue more, or do you think women? And if so, why? We'll let our guests go first, and then we want the male perspective, Rodney.
Well, again, I can only speak from my own experience. I have gotten to a place where I've decided that I want to date, and I will accept a date, to meet a person somewhere, of course, because I'm just meeting you for the first time. And I get there and I've taken time to brush my teeth, floss, change my clothes, bathe, do my hair, put on perfume, get all the stuff that you should be wanting to do to make a good first impression anyway. And I get to the dating site or the location or whatever, and you still got on your crappy work clothes. So I say to you, after you do this maybe twice, I say to you, well, maybe I need to start coming in to the date with my bonnet on and my pajamas, as so many of us do walk out in public that way. And maybe, my efforts will be more appreciated because I come in here looking like a Barbie doll and you look like you just got through throwing yourself in a pig pen, basically. So I think there's a lack of effort on a lot of, I'm not going to say everybody's, but I'm going to say a lot of the people that I have encountered. And these were attempts that I took on a dating site at one point. Won't do that again. But yes, that's what I've run into. So yes, I think women go through it more because I believe most women believe in good first impressions, great first impressions. So I'm not going to meet you for the first time and I put my best foot forward, especially if I'm looking to get to know you to be a potential partner. So that's my experience.
I'm going to come back on that, but Rodney, I want to hear your perspective or your answer to that question and why. And welcome.
Good evening. Welcome, Miss Angie. Great to have you. Hey, Tammy. Tammy, I keep forgetting that it's 8:15. So I actually signed on at like 7:55, and then I was like, oh, it is 8:15. Started doing some other stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I can say it's more of a male thing or a female thing. I think it really just depends on the person, and I think just from what I've seen, the average person will try to put their best foot forward if they are serious about you. If they've taken the time and if you just walk down the street, and you can cat call at a female and she responds, or I think it really all depends on how it starts out. Like if it starts out like in a ghetto fabulous way, like, and y'all decide that y'all want to go out, like I don't know what you're expecting, because it didn't start off with respect. But I think if an individual is truly serious about you, they meet you. Let's say they meet you at work, or they meet you at a party or something. Y'all start talking and y'all decide that y'all want to go out on a date. I think as long as that first interaction was positive or respectful, I think on that first date, I think both people are going to bring their A game. I commend Angie for not telling people what she's looking for, not telling people what she wants, because oftentimes you're going to get exactly what you tell people that you want. And and so when people are asking you about your likes and your dislikes and all of those things, like they're going to do those things until they get what they want, or where they're trying to go with you. And sometimes people mean well, and there's something inside of us. It seems like if I know that, and this is not everybody, but I think a lot of people do this, and I don't even know if they're aware that they do this. But if they know that, like, if you're telling people your past, right, or you're telling people about your life, and you're constantly talking about how people mistreat you, or how people are unfair with you, or how people are always getting over on you, it just seems like subconsciously people take that for weakness. And then next thing you know, they don't, whether they mean to or not, now they're taking advantage of you, or at least trying to. So I think that you have to be very careful when you're getting to know people. I think the best relationships are the natural ones, where people are just being themselves and, going about their business, being themselves, talking the way that they normally talk. Because I think that we give false impressions, and it's better for you to start out slow and then gradually build, or it's better for you to show up and not give out a whole lot. Talk about just things in general. Talk about things that you would typically talk about. If I see you and I find out that you're interested in, um, you know, I don't know, art, right? And I have no interest in art, have no artistic ability. I don't need to sit there and try to like have this conversation with you about art because that's not my thing. And I don't need to give you that impression. And I think, again, I don't know who does it more, men or women. But I think depending on how serious the person is about you, they're going to come strong. Now, if they don't care, they just, you're going to get whatever you get. But I think if the person is serious about you, man or woman, they're going to give you the best that they have, at least in the beginning.
Would you all agree that because in thinking about this, you guys, I think we all are the representative at some point, because I noticed the little things that as a lady that I forget, like nail polish. Like I can remember, and let's be honest, we are just naturally, for the most part, we all are. And I think when we're not, we have gone through this journey of self-discovery, um that we all are attracted to. They have this word, it's called novelty, new things, the newness. So I think when we meet someone, it's just exciting to be in that place. Someone has possibly chosen me, but I think we forget to talk about the expectations without, maybe Angela, if you could give us some on this. So we can talk, can we, or should we? What are your thoughts on this? Should we express our expectations of why we are here? When we mention dating with purpose or for purpose, I think oftentimes we forget to talk about, hey, I don't have to tell you what I'm looking for, like what I'm looking for in you, but long term, what I'm looking for, whether it be marriage. Because some people think that you should not discuss this the first few dates. But if you're looking for marriage or a serious relationship, and this guy or this girl is like, and they know that they're not, if that comes out, there can we can miss out, we can skip a lot of things and a lot of heartache with those conversations. How soon do you think you should have the conversation about what you want, not necessarily what you want in that person, but what you want out of a relationship?
Well, first, I want to go back really quick to something that Rodney said when he was
Okay.
speaking about, the dating process and being careful about what you share in terms of what you share with the person. I had to learn the hard way on that. So I appreciate you for mentioning that so all the ladies can get that information and the fellas can learn a little something too. A lot of times when you share certain things with people in that, in that light, they use it. What I've experienced is that they use it as ammunition to fire back at you at an inopportune time. So I also learned the hard way from sharing certain intimate details about my past, that is not something that you want to do on a regular basis, especially if it's a person that you're just getting to know and you're not sure what position they're going to take in your life. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Now, as far as me judging the time frame, I think you should have at least 3 dates with the person. I think by the third date, you pretty much have a feel of that person's path in your life, which way you want to go with that person, because just from the communication, on maybe a daily basis, possibly you're communicating with that person, you guys are sharing information, you're getting to know one another. I think you can kind of judge from there, hey, is this a person that's going to be in my life long term? Is this just going to be a regular friendship? Even for the grown folks, is this going to be a friend with benefits? I don't know, but I think by the third date, it's safe to discuss, what you're looking for in terms of long term. Now, when you say that, there should be no personal details about what you want out of that person, because they should hear what you're saying as far as what you want and get a perspective on which way to go from there. They still shouldn't have to have instructions on how to be able to act and treat you in the process of getting to know you as a potential mate.
What does those 3 dates look, Rodney, I'm sorry if I interrupted you. What should those, or any suggestions on what kind of dates? Because you mentioned three. If you are, should one of those
Mhm.
dates just be kind of a conversation date? Because you can kind of get lost with in that depending on the kind of date that you do.
Um, well, the first date should absolutely be something very casual. It should be something in a public forum because you don't know who you fixing to meet. And to keep yourself from becoming a victim of circumstance, you want to be in a very public place where you can scream for help if you need to. Always drive your own car and always leave your location with 2 or 3 people who are not with you. I always do that. It's always my son, my sister, and probably my mom. I always give 3 people my location. The next thing I would say is for the second date. The second date can be something a little more intimate, maybe a dinner, so that you can have that conversation time. I think that that is the place where you kind of get to know the person on another level outside of explaining what you're looking for. Because I don't think that needs to be introduced too soon because you don't know if the person is going to be a permanent fixture or not. And then the third date, depending upon how you feel after the second date, it could be a tad bit more intimate. Maybe a movie, maybe like I don't know, a concert, or maybe a coffee date or something like that, so that you guys again can get more conversational time in. Because I know when you're an adult, it can be hard to find free time if you're a fully, you know, acclimated individual. You're working every day. You're doing the daily things that you need to do to maintain your life. So I think that third date can, if depending on how you feel about that person after the second date, I think the third date can be a tad bit more intimate. And that's when I feel like you should be able to come up with some of those details to inform the person of what you're feeling.
I totally agree, you guys, about the safety for women and probably men too these days. Because we're in a time where we post so much, and sometimes a guy or a girl doesn't have to ask you the questions. If they scroll your timeline, the way some people post, they'll know everything about you and your life, where you go, everything. So we really have to be careful. But I want to share this real quick, Rodney, before you jump in. I remember going skating. I had met this guy, and I love to skate, and so drove our separate cars. But when I got out, and I had this friend where, like, everybody needs that friend that knows everything about everything about everything. So I walked around and I took a picture of his tag, and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm sending this to my friend." And he's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." so, so yes, I am.
Absolutely.
We went skating. So you do have to be
Absolutely.
careful in today's time. But yep, I did do that. Rodney.
You do.
That is hilarious. But I completely get it. Um, I think I think that we have a tendency to I think we have a tendency to complicate um, relationships, and I say that because in with every other relationship in our life, um, we are very we're very natural with it, right? Our family members, they're just they're family members. Like we don't get to choose our parents, we don't get to choose our siblings, people who we're related to. Those are just automatic. But if you think about the people who we allow into our spaces, we don't do it in the same manner that we do with people that we date. When you, like, Tammy, I think back to when you and I met, right?
Mhm.
And to this day, we've only seen each other twice in person, right?
Mhm.
But like it was like that, like it was instant, right?
Mhm.
And I think about other people who are in my life, and it's 90% of the time, it's like you learn people like right away, like just being around them, just being you, giving them the space to be themselves, and then we decide, okay, this person can be my friend, Okay, yeah, I'm cool with them. Yeah, I rock with them. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we can get a drink, or you know what? Like I don't have nothing against them, but I can't really get down with them like that. Or like we start like just in a matter of minutes. We're like, you know what? That person is real, or like we feel their energy, like we get a vibe, like and then
Absolutely.
sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we're wrong about people, right? Sometimes we hold people up here and they're really not, or something happens. Sometimes we're like, I don't really know you like that, and it takes a while. But for the most part, like we figure people out, and we know exactly where to put them in our lives, without any structure. It just happens. But then when it comes to dating people, then all of a sudden we get really strange. We got all these rules. you know, we we have all of these different things going on, and I wonder if we approached it in that same way, would we get different results? I'm not saying that is right, but I wonder if we approach relationships in the same way. Like, let's say I'm at the library, or let's say I'm at the bar, let's say I'm at church, like regardless of where I am, and let's say you meet somebody of the opposite sex, and you're like, okay, like y'all are just talking about, like, if you're in the library, and you notice a book. Oh, that's my favorite author. Whatever, like, or you notice what they're reading, and y'all start talking about books. Like, it's okay. Like, I got something in common with this person, right? And then y'all decide, okay, you know what? I would really like to talk to you more, but I got to get out of here. I got to go pick up my kid. Can we exchange numbers? We'll talk again soon. Got to, like, if we did that, I wonder how different things would be. When we think about our friends, we're not needy when it comes to our friends. We don't have to talk to them all day. We don't have to talk to them every day. We don't have to see them every day. Like, we don't need all of this, right? Um, but whenever we do see them, it's like, oh man, hey, what's up? How you? It's the most exciting time of our lives, right? Like, even if we don't see them for weeks at a time, we're all excited. But if we're dating somebody and we don't hear from them within a couple of hours, well, what are they doing? Who's taking up their time? Or oh, well, where you been? It becomes like we have all these rules, and it's like, but this other person who is like your best friend, like you say that your spouse is your best friend, right? But then you say that this person over here is your best friend, but you treat them totally different. So is there a difference when it comes to, this is my best friend? And I get, one is your spouse, and one is just your homie, but like, when we think about like friendships and relationships, like, I wonder if they would be a little bit different if we were more natural with it, versus like trying to make sure things are structured and in line and in place. And I need this. Like, I wonder if we just took the time to say, you know what, I'm Rodney Jordan. This is who I am. Like, I like sports. I like working with children. I can be in the house. I can be outside. Like, I'm cool, whatever. Like, I like being around people sometimes. I'm a people person. Sometimes I like being by myself. Like, I enjoy fresh. Like, this is just who I am. Like, and as long as you don't interrupt who I am, like, we can be cool, regardless of where it ends up going. I
But
just wonder about stuff like that.
I think I understand what you're saying to a degree, but I think once you cross that line, the expectations are just different, because you have there's a different feeling and emotions. For example, I'll tell people I'm a different um mother than I am woman. Like, I show up differently. So I think that it's almost expected that there's a difference. I think what you're explaining, in my opinion, Angela, you can answer this as well. It's a matter of preference, or connect the way that you just your characteristics. Because some people, there's some women that don't. I don't need a lot of time, because I'm kind of a loner. I've learned not to be, because of relationships and the need for connectedness. Um, but I can go all day if I
I
had
can
to,
go all if I
without expecting someone to call me. But does it happen now in my life? No. So I think it's a matter of having those conversations on those dates and establishing what you expect of the relationship and what you want from that person and need from that person in this relationship. And I just think we don't have, because of the representative, or the representatives that show up, maybe that guy, or maybe that guy doesn't show all of that initially in the relationship at first. Maybe that girl doesn't show all the things that she likes to do or doesn't like to do. Because even down to eating, you guys, if you think about, when you first meet someone, and I think this happens a lot. Well, what do you want to eat, or whatever you want? Oh no, whatever you want. And then it gets to a point where it's not new anymore. And we are so adamant
Mhm.
about expressing what we like to eat, not sometimes even considering what the other person wants. So I think we lose our zeal once we get to know someone, and we especially lose zeal for the people who are closest to us. Sometimes we just naturally have an instinct for newness. And if you notice, you guys, sometimes I'm always fascinated that someone will get up and pass by the person that they've slept with and not say good morning, but go outside and the neighbor is out there and they say good morning. I think we just been taught and conditioned to not value, um, history, those who we kind of
History,
take people
those
for
who we're gonna
granted.
take people
Maybe
for
that's the
granted.
best way to say it. Angela, any comments or questions? And then we'll read the comment. We
Well,
have a lot of comments.
well, I think in regards to that, I don't think that it's so much as it's a structure, but I do think, okay, so I always look at the fact that I'm 45 and I ain't getting no younger. So I don't have time to play games. I don't have time to do the job that your mother did not do. I don't have time for any of that. Just because I'm an empty nester does not mean that I have money to give you, because that ain't gonna happen, Captain. So at the end of the day, I think it's more of, with me, being upfront about what it is you're looking for. And I think the honesty factor, it's what's missing in that connection that you're speaking of, Rodney, where we just go with the flow because people are not being honest. They're so busy trying to fit into what they think you want that they can't be themselves because they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And if you're not living as yourself on a daily basis, it's going to be very hard to pull your real self out when it comes to getting to know me. So that's why I always get penalized, because I am very blunt and I'm upfront with what I'm looking for. And if you're not in the same category, that's fine. Nothing towards you, but I holler at you because I don't have time. You know, I have a career. I'm trying to juggle that along with developing some kind of love life. Because, like I said, I love me and I'm living now instead of just existing. So you have to fit into that space. You can't bring no dead weight to me and think you're going to be able to stay in my space, because I'm protecting all of this energy.
You mentioned earlier
So,
that you were living freely. You were in a place of freedom. Um,
yes.
I want to read the comments, and then when we come back, if you could tell us a little bit more about what that looks like. And then I'd like to talk about the representative, how he or she shows up. What do we do when we see that we have the representative and not the person, and then whatever else. So I'm going to read a few of the comments, and you guys, I hope I don't miss anybody. Let's see. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing. Woo Woo says, "Hi Tammy, have missed your shows. Back to school is crushing me." Um, well, thank you, Woo Woo. We're glad to have you back. Brianna says, "Hey TT." I guess she's talking about you, Angela.
Yes,
Erica,
hi, TT, baby.
thank you for supporting your TT. Erica says, "Good evening." That's Erica Dunlap. Kiki Hayes, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." Gentlemen, thank you, Kiki. And I see Angela. I think you've said hello to them as well. I
Mhm.
want to make sure. Brianna says you're right about that. Not sure what part of that, but we thank you for that. Let's see. I just want to make sure. And any questions you guys just posted, like everybody's just checking in. Let's see. Erica says her mother used to get the tags of her dates. Right on, Erica. Good mother. You have to do that these days, you guys. We're just in that world. And if a guy is offended by that, because if that guy would have had a problem with that, it was like, well, I'll tell you what, you go. I'm going in and skate, but you can go home. So I certainly agree. So I think we said what you were gonna tell us about the freedom, that this place in your life where you are living in this place of freedom. And then y'all, let's talk about a little more about the representative and how the rep shows up, what we do when we see um, that they've sent their representative. So tell us about your freedom that you have crossed over into.
Well, coming from, like I said, a long-term marriage, having two beautiful children who are amazing. They get on my nerves though. But from them leaving the nest, they're in college, they're doing their thing. It was very hard for me to get out of the routine of being a mom. So I didn't really do a whole lot in those beginning days. I would just go to work and come home. I didn't go out. I didn't socialize too much. Don't really deal with people on that level. So now I am in a place of, you know, just being able to express myself without anger, without strife in my life. I'm able to tell how I feel for the most part and not hold back, but not be so careless that I hurt people in the process of me expressing what I'm going through. Um, I travel a little bit more. I am doing self care. That is so important. I'm meditating. I am, getting more in depth with, scripture, learning things I want to learn. I just feel like I'm living now instead of just existing. Existing is just the monotonous routine of work, home, and whatever else you do in between. Work, home, whatever else you do in between. And I had to get out of that because it cost me a lot, in my lifetime, missing out on things and missing out on people. And so, with that being said, I think it's important that we find our happy place. It's definitely doable because I have been through a lot and I was able to get to that place. Drink that gallon of water a day, count your steps, do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better. Loving yourself is the best thing that you can do because when you properly love yourself, nobody can come along and love you the wrong way.
Absolutely. And Rodney, that's what I mean, you guys, that's what we're here for. And when you do that, the rep can't fool you. The rep can't even show up. Like them walking through the door. You know them on the phone. It's just what
Woo!
you decide to do with that. Really, you do. It's just
I'll
what you
drink to
decide
that.
to do with. Look, let's all drink to that. Rodney, where's your glass?
It's empty.
But really,
You gotta get a refill.
yeah, you do.
I do.
But you do, and I think we always kind of know, you guys. I think we're approaching relationships with deficiencies, unresolved trauma, unresolved issues, daddy issues, mama issues, divorce
Come on
issues,
now. Come
pain
on
issues,
now.
unresolved things that we carry from one relationship to another. And then we see the rep and we think, I got to deal with this. I'm 48, I'm 50, I'm 53, I'm single, I got this, I got that. This is all I'm going to get. Well, if that's all you
Yep.
think you're going to get, you don't need anyone at that time. If you're approaching relationships for that reason, because not only will you accept the representative, you will become the representative because now you're doing for the other person. You're living for the other person out of fear of losing him or
Mhm.
being too late. So if you get nothing out of this, get yourself. Like realize that, like you said, you gotta what works for you. You have to have that list, ladies. I'll say guys too, right? And you may can help us with this. I don't know how guys feel about that list, but I think we all need a list of things that we want and need in a relationship. And once you get that list, you need to make sure that you are those things. If you want love, if you want to be loved, are you loved? Do you exemplify love? Are you capable of loving before being loved? So once you get that list, then you need to say, I'm there, I'm there, I'm this, I'm this. Because I've heard people, and I'll say women, I've heard women speak about their list, and I'm looking like, and one I remember calling out, like, you want like the guy to have no kids, but you have four. That's out of balance. If it's what you want, that's what you want. But that's you guys, that's I mean, so now what if this person says he doesn't want to accept your kids? So that's why I say make the list, but check yourself with your list. Check yourself
Mhm.
first. So, Rodney,
I don't know if guys have a list.
no, they don't.
Guys are for the most part, because I can't lump every guy into one category, but
True.
for the most part, the guys that I know, the guys that I come across are very simple. They don't want a whole lot. They don't need a whole lot.
Mhm.
And they can spot BS from a mile away. And because of that, it's you know a list is not needed. You just know, when you're around people, you just know, whether you're trying to date them or you're just trying to be their friend. You just know, like, nah. But there are times, where I've seen guys put up with things because of sex. Like, what? I want to sleep with her, so you know what? I'm gonna deal with this nonsense,
Mm-mm.
and they go about it, right. But I think the freedom part, a lot of people are missing. I don't think people. I don't think as a people we are free, and I mean all people, and I don't care what race you are. I think
Rodney, do
people
you
live.
mean more in relationship or just
I mean,
overall?
just in general, in,
General.
in,
Okay.
in general, and I think it
I think
impacts.
you're right.
I think it impacts every area of your life when you're
Yeah.
not free. It's when you find a person who's free, yet like they not a lot brings them down. Like, they go
Mhm.
through things, but they handle it differently.
Mhm.
Free people
Yeah.
don't do a whole lot of complaining. Free people don't talk a whole lot about problems. They talk about solutions. The world could be falling apart around them, and they're still maintaining. Free people, they try to encourage other people, and not necessarily, you know going out of their way to do it. Like, they encourage you just by the way that they carry themselves, by the way that they live, their lives. And you're like, man, why is that person always happy? Every time I see them, they're smiling, and or you know because they're free, because their life is peaceful. And you cannot expect, because we're all human, and we live in a society just full of flaws. You cannot expect to live in an ideal world, right? Physically, excuse me. However, mentally, you should be living in an ideal world. Your mind should be at peace when things start happening in your life that you don't like, or things that you don't want to. You should know how to handle that. You should know how to handle rejection. You should know how to handle people telling you no. And if you're free, it's gonna when if let's say you are trying to date. If you're free, and you're interested in dating people, and the wrong joke will come around, you're like, nah, I'm good. Because you know what bondage looks like. We got a lot of attention seekers, out here, and people, just looking for a pat on the back. But when you're a free person, you you don't live like that. And so I think that it starts with your mind. I think it starts with, um, you know, being free in your mind, and then letting it show up in other areas of your life, at work, in your dating life, your relationships with your friends, relationships with your family members. Even when you're in the grocery store, like you can tell. So I think it's one of those things where it starts within, and it'll show outwardly, and a free person recognizes another free person.
So I have a question for both of you, Angela, if you'll take it first. What should be what is dating, and what is the purpose of dating? Your answer to that. And then if you want to give an overall perspective of what you think people see dating as, that's fine too. But what's your perspective of dating, and why we date?
Well, my perspective of dating is the process of getting to know someone and taking it from level to level. I don't think that dating has to be anything complicated. Like me personally, I am the girl that will walk in the park with you, do a picnic. You don't have to spend $1 million to have a date. You know what I mean? So dating to me is just the simplicity of two individuals interacting on a level to get to know each other and to have someone as a potential partner. Um, why we date is because I don't believe that mankind was made to be alone. And when I
Mm,
look at myself, not to be braggadocious, I had a good marriage, on top of all of that, I feel like even with the divorce happening, I still can make a house a home. So at the end of the day, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not afraid to eat at it by myself. So we have to get to a place mentally where we say, why am I dating this person? I was in a meditation, and I just kept hearing stop dealing with people for entertainment purposes. We have to get to a place in our lives where we say, I don't have this time to waste. So why am I dating? I'm dating because I want to get to know
mm.
someone in hopes of one day having a marriage. I'm not girlfriend material. I'm wife material. Understand this. So at the end of the day, that's the reason why I'm dating. Have I always been in this place of self-confidence? Absolutely not. There were some days that I didn't even like looking at myself because I was so down, but I was down because the happiness wasn't in here. I was expecting someone to bring happiness when that's not what it's about. You
Wow.
have to work your own trauma, deal with those issues, because
Oh,
those issues, like Rodney said, will hold you back from reaching your full potential in life in any area of your life. Deal with those daddy issues, deal with those hurts, those traumas that have caused you to be stagnant in certain areas of your life, and get to a place where you're living, not merely existing. That's what it's all about.
I
so
think I,
I was going to ask, do you think that society looks at dating that way? And we can come back around and address that one next, Rodney, after you're done. But like after you're done, do y'all think society looks at? Because I totally agree with the way that you put it, but I want to know, what do you guys think about society, guys and ladies?
I think I think what Angie said is true. To me, I think if you're dating, the end goal should be,
Mm.
to and I won't say get married, because not everybody wants to get married.
True.
But I think your end goal should be, some sort of committed relationship with the person, because otherwise I don't think you're dating. I think you're just spending time with the
Mhm.
person. I think that you might be hooking up with the person, but I think if you're, I think dating is the first part of forming a or establishing a commitment um, with another individual. And to your second question, Tammy, I don't know what the world's definition of dating is or anything else because everybody got a different definition, it seems like, for everything. Because
That's
you'll
true.
have people tell you that all they do is date. They don't do anything else. They don't want anything else. They're date. You got people that's telling you they're dating multiple people at a time. Well, how are you working towards a commitment if you got five people at one time that you're dating? Like, to me, like and don't get me wrong, I don't knock people who do that. But I think that, like, I remember one time this lady told me she was dating two different guys, and I said, "Well, do they know about that you're dating somebody else?" No, why would I tell one about the other? That's gonna mess up what one of them is doing for me. I'm not telling them, and I'm like,
Mm.
okay, but I think I think I think if you're dating, I think that there should be an end goal in mind. But in terms of the world, I think society is so wide open right now, especially when it comes to dating and relationships. Society is so wide open now that I don't think there are any rules. I don't think there are many expectations. I think if you're a person, who is dating now, and have rules and you have standards, I think it is very tough,
Mhm.
for people like that out here because people just want to do what they want to do, and that's in everything. People just want to do their own thing and they don't want you to say anything about it. They don't want you to get mad at them. Like, people do you wrong and don't want you to get don't want you to be offended by it. So I really don't know what the dating. I don't even know what the definition is because now people could just be randomly hooking up with people, and some people consider that dating, and it's like I I, I have no idea.
You know what, Ryan? You bring up a good point. I believe that we or individuals, you said that people just want to do what they want to do. And I think that's fine. I think people should be able to do what they want to do. I just think if what you want to do does not meet me where I am or my expectations for a relationship, that I should not buy into that. So I think that we are allowing people to do what they want to do and include us in their mess. Like that, I think that. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Like, do you? I have this saying: it is what it is. Let it do what it do, but it ain't gonna do me unless I want to be done in that
That's
way.
it.
So it is what it is. Let it do what it do. Just don't let it do you. And it
Right.
is people, it's places, it's things, it. But what is your it? Your it is on that
Mhm.
list. But in order to create a list, you got to know who the hell you are, what you
Absolutely.
want, and be okay with saying that. If you want to fish, do you? I'm at that place where you are. Angela, you and I talked about this today about
Yeah.
I'm just there. I can't let things or people disturb my peace. Like, I'm
Mhm.
just there. And it doesn't mean life is perfect because I can tell you mine is certainly not. Like, there are situations,
Right.
there are issues, there are struggles. Um, I don't even think you know this, Rodney. Like, I lost my oldest uncle, and the day before we were burying him, my grandmother passed.
Oh,
His mom. So, like, crazy, but I found the joy of 94 years with my grandmother on this earth, on this side. That is a blessing. That is a
It is.
blessing. And I can tell you the first of the year, probably last month, I would have not been in that place. And so don't let anyone else be the representative in your life, especially when you still are the representative in your life, when you are not being who you are to yourself. So, whatever dating is to you, define that for you. Whatever you need from the representative or the real person, define that for you. And be okay with saying, dude, you don't meet the list. Sweetheart, you don't meet the list. And I do think that there is just a clear and evident difference between men and women, the makeup of men and women, how we show up in relationships. Rodney, we talked about the wedding. You know, rarely do you find a guy who wants to show up with the bells and whistles. He'd be okay with going to the courthouse or whatever. But at the same time, you can't say that all women are, because I was one of those ones like, I don't have the time for that, the money, or the patience to get all those people together on that day when it's not even about them.
I'll take
So you
courthouse
can't
was
just jump into
500,
main.
Alex.
Say that again.
I
500
said I
hours.
take the courthouse for 500, Alex.
Really. But if you think about how much is spent on weddings, and then I'll have couples not want to spend $150 on marriage or relationship coaching. But you just spent, like, literally, when I used to cater, you guys, there's someone wanted to pay more for their dinner, where the plates, than they wanted to pay me to cook the food. But that's where we are. It's not the food, it's how the plate looks. Like, no, give me some paper
Hmm.
plates and let my food be good.
What you
Hmm.
say?
But that's where we are. Get you a good man, a good woman, and hey, leave all the other. But see, we want to dress this thing up. We want the representative. We ain't even went there tonight, you guys. Like, at the end of the day, and I can speak this much for women, because we put up with a lot of stuff. And I'm not saying men don't either, but I'm saying women, we kind of show up. We probably go overboard with that first date. I wonder what the man would be like if we just kind of went casual, because I do think we do the hair, we do the makeup, we do the nails, we have the feet done. But those are some things you ought to be doing for you. If that's what you like, do it for yourself. Don't do it for, let it just be you.
That's
Don't have to
it.
do too much. Let it be you, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll pass it back over to you guys. And then we had a question. What if you're called selfish for self-love? So what if someone says you're selfish because you have a way about self-love about yourself? What do, you guys?
I've been in that situation, and at the end of the day, you have to choose you over anybody else and what anybody else says or does. Because guess what? If you're not okay, everything that you touch is not going to be okay. So you have to make sure that you're good above everything else. And if a person loves you and they deserve to be in your life, they will understand that that self-love and self-care is absolutely necessary, and they should also for themselves.
I
Hmm.
think I, I think people need to learn the definition of what selfish means. And um, you know, when we prioritize our lives and the things and the people in our lives, you have to remember that, okay, yes, my family is important to me, right? However, I need to I need to have a job in order to take care of my family, right? Because if I don't have any income, then how am I going to support my family? So
Right.
people might say, well, your job should not come before your family. Well, without my job, how am I going to support them?
Hmm.
If I'm not
My family
healthy,
like eating.
yeah. If I'm not healthy, how am I going to get up and go to work every day? So I need to take
Right.
care of my mental and my physical wellness. So there's nothing wrong with making sure that you are okay. Being selfish means that you only look out for you. That's it. You only look out for you.
Right.
You're not thinking about anybody else. You're not doing anything for anybody else. No. If I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock at night, so that I can get 8 hours of sleep and get my butt up well rested and go to work the next day. Hey, I may not have
Why you
time.
mad?
Yeah, I may not answer your phone call if you call at 9:30 because I'm in the bed. I may not be able to do everything that my kids or my spouse or significant other. I may not be able to do everything that you want me to do. I may not be able to answer every time my mom calls. But it doesn't make me selfish because I'm not looking out for me and saying forget you. I'm saying right now I got to do what's best for me so that I can be there for you. And so I think that if somebody's calling you selfish, you know whether or not you're selfish. And even if I'm not a selfish person, it doesn't hurt to self-reflect and say, you know what? Let me see. I do this is what I do every day. Am I being selfish, or are they just mad because they want me to put them before me, and I'm not doing that?
I got the perfect answer for y'all. Okay. I don't know who asked this question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is now, there are times I know I can be selfish. It is what it is. I think we all to a degree. But what I've learned when people who are trying to avoid real issues, because sometimes people just don't want to deal with uncomfortable situations and they don't want to change themselves. So they try to project it back on you. And if you are in a place where you are not as free, the freedom that Angela was talking about earlier, it can hit you, especially if it's someone that you've not been selfish with. It's game. But what works for me, and I don't have to do it much now, is I will say no. I'm not selfish, but I'm not you-ish either. You-ish. Listen at that. So see, if I'm not selfish, then you want me to be you-ish. I don't know how to be that. I don't. But I do know when I'm being selfish. I do know, and I am sometimes. I am. I'm stubborn. And I want to have my way sometimes. But that's who I am. There are some things about me that someone is just gonna have to say, I love her and her crazy. Because I have some crazy. And I think that's what dating should be about. Two people, responsible people showing up, putting it on the table. What do you want and how do you need it? What do you want from me and how do you need it? Now, all I can do is say, hey, these are the things that I can do and these are the things that I cannot do. But I am going to be pro Tammy. I'm going to be selfish sometimes because it's not natural not to be. And if you mistake that for me
Absolutely.
being selfish, then you need to answer the question, do you now want me to be you-ish? Because again, I don't know how to be that. I don't. So that would be my answer. And then just ask them, like, explain how am I being selfish and have that conversation. In most cases, people are going to run from that because again, it's a conversation and we don't want to have those uncomfortable um conversations that require people to show up. So they know they redirect, they send you on a detour and wait
Mm-hmm.
for the ground to even and they go right back to the same things. And that's what I meant, Rodney, by we just accept too much. It's not that people are doing what they want because I think they should. It's just that if they're doing what they want and it doesn't fit you, keep it moving. Keep it moving. So
And
I
we have
read
to learn how to do that sooner than later.
sooner than later. Exactly. Because the rep shows up and we see the rep. We just kind of avoid it because, again, our own reasons. I found this, and you guys will work to bring it to a close, but I found this, and when reading it, it was very interesting to me, and I'll tell you why. So it says 10 reasons why being in a relationship makes your life better and healthier. Okay. It says you act less selfishly. Your stress levels are lowered. Your risk, oh, go back. Oh, yo, guys, I lost it. Hold on one second. Um, so your risk of depression is reduced. You feel happier. You feel invincible. You feel like someone gets you, and you learn about yourself. Your world is expanded. You learn to compromise. And number 10, you can stay healthy together. Now, when I read that, this says why we should be in a relationship and how it's healthier for us. To me, those are the things that we feel initially, like when we meet someone, we start the dating process. But as time goes, and we should be it should be getting greater later, because I really do believe if two people decide that, hey, we're just going to do this, when you show up in a way that I don't really understand and know, I'm going to stop, take the time to figure out how do we get through this and how do I learn about you, but also about myself. And I don't think we do that enough. I think we expect these perfect people, and we expect things to stay just as they were when we started dating. And you can't grow that way. The relationship cannot grow, people cannot grow. But when reading that, those are the things that I think happen initially, and I agree with it, but I think as time goes, those things should be greater. They should continue to grow. If two people show up with that hot, open, honest conversation, and then make a an adult decision to say, "Hey, I want to do this, and I want to do this with you," or "I want to do this, and I don't want to do it with you. I can't, but we can still chill and be friends. But if I find that guy, that girl, I'm out." But we just play games. We just play games. Those are my final words. Over to y'all.
Well, Rodney, did you want to go first?
I'll let you go.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. I think a lot of what you said for me, Tammy, boils back down to the honesty factor. You know, that's why I believe that it is important for you to say what you want, not necessarily in an individual, but out of the situation, because I feel like being honest about that will lead you into your next phase of whatever the relationship is going to be. I also think that more so because I'm a woman, I'm speaking to the young men. I think that you all should learn to be more patient when it comes to a person that you're considering for a potential mate. You have to give that person the opportunity to do self-care and self-love. You also have to give that person the opportunity to work through any traumas that they may have faced. You don't know what a person has been through. So you have to be patient with those situations and allow that woman to work through those things so that she won't cut you and you didn't do anything to her. There are some of us that want healthy, thriving relationships out here in these streets. So you have to understand and let us work through those things that we're working through. And I'm saying us because I am yet a work in progress, but I am making the steps and the strides to get to a place of perfection. So with that being said, that's my closing remarks. Date with a purpose. Date the person and be the person that you want to see on the other end. Be honest, be open, be true to yourself first, and then you can be true to the other person. Thank you guys for having me on, and I so appreciate all the honesty that you guys have displayed on today.
And we have to have you back. We just got to do a round two and keep this relationship thing going, because it's been helpful for me for sure. So don't go anywhere. We'll let Rodney to close it up.
All right.
I'm gonna pick up where Angie left off, and I think that I think what you said is true, but I also think that women have to give men the space to do that.
Well,
It can't be, I need this from men, and then not give men the space um, to be there for you, or the space to be patient with you, or um the like it can't be, well, I need this and this, and it's like, and a man is trying to give you that, or a man is giving you that, and because it doesn't look the way that you want it to, or the way that you think it should look, um then it's, well,
Mm.
I'm not getting it. And it's like, well, if you keep doing things the same way that they've always been done, you're going to get the same results. So maybe the way that I am approaching you, or approaching this situation, yes, it might be different, but if it's different, aren't you looking for something different than what you've had in the past? So we have to remember as people to be open minded, and give people the space and the opportunity to be the person that we want them to be, or the person that we need them to be. And I also think that in learning people, I think it's important that, if, as much as we can, put people in situations where we can see who they really are. For example, I remember learning about a teacher going on a job interview, and when they showed up in the office, they were on time, ready to go. Showed up in the office, told the secretary, "Hey, I'm here, got an interview, whatever time it was." And she said, "All right, I'll let the principal know. Just have a seat over there." Teacher sat next. The person who was interviewing for the job sat next to a student. Um, you know, they just started talking to the student. And maybe about 10 minutes later, principal calls them back. What the teacher didn't know was the principal purposely placed the student there, because if you want to be a teacher and you're sitting right next to a student and there's no interaction, you don't want to be a teacher,
Wow.
even if you don't know
Right.
the kid, right?
That's
So
so.
if you're looking to date somebody, and one of the things that's important to you is somebody who's going to be a good father or a good mother, well, without telling them, hey, I want 3 kids, or hey, like, I'm looking for somebody, who can, who's going to, be not only be a good mate but also be a good father. Well, put them in a position where you get to see how they interact with children. Because if they can't, if they can't do that, then and this may not be the person for me. And I'm not saying that that's 100% accurate. I'm just saying that we can put people in positions where we can see the real them, because it's just like with a job interview. You go to a job interview, there are like, what, 10 questions, and everybody just sitting there like robots, just answering the questions, right? And you don't like, you can go off of it. You're looking for certain things that they say, but you don't really get the full picture of them. So why do that if you're trying to learn somebody? Why not? Hey, you know what? This time let's go out to dinner. This time let's go out for a walk in the park. This time, we're gonna go to this festival over here, or find. You know what? I'm volunteering at such and such this weekend. You want to go? Get create as many different scenarios as possible, so that you can see the real them. Put them in different situations, and just see how they respond, because the real them is going to show up. And if they invite you out with their friends, go right ahead, because their friends are gonna tell all the stories. So,
Yep.
so you're gonna get all of the tea. Why? Because the friends are gonna try to crack jokes. The friends are gonna try to
Yep.
embarrass them. You're gonna get the real them. You're gonna see, like, if you go out with them, you're gonna say, okay, oh, okay, like everybody knows this person, or man, like everybody loves this person, or oh, so you like to get tipsy. You're gonna find all types of
Mhm.
stuff out about
Yeah.
people. But I think that
Right.
the more you do it unintentionally, I think the better results that you'll get. And that's just me. And that's why I say, I think keep it as natural as possible. Just let people naturally be themselves. Don't say, "Hey, I'm looking for this," like you said, Angie. You don't have to tell me what you're looking for, because if I just have you in just a normal conversation, I can read between the lines. I don't need for you to tell me that you ignorant. I'm just gonna listen to you because ignorance is gonna come out of your mouth at some point. So I don't need you I don't need you to
Absolutely.
tell me. You know, I don't know if you're somebody who stresses out very easily. It's gonna show up. And so I think that, I think being natural is the key. Again, that doesn't mean that it's right. That's just the way that I see it. Back
Rodney,
over to y'all.
we have a question for you. Jim Stone wants to know, you were talking about this early on in your last spiel here. How much space, she says. And she has this inquiring kind of smile like, okay, how much space do we give you men? I'm
I,
adding that on. But how much
I
space?
think I think that is I think it's a case by case thing. I really do. I think it depends on the people, because
Mm,
or at least you think what you want or what you need. So if you're saying Angie was saying, being patient and allowing women to work through some things, I think that
mm.
if I'm doing that, um, now I may be doing it too much. I may not be giving I may not be supporting you enough. And I think that's where you have a conversation. Um, but be fair about it. Like, don't keep changing don't keep moving the bar. Like,
The
like
bar.
you say, hey, yeah, don't keep moving the bar. Like, you're like, you know what? Like,
Have a finish line, Rodney. Is that what you're saying? At least have a finish line, huh?
yeah, well, yeah, and listen, can we not
Okay.
be at listen, I get it, some things take longer than others, but as people we should be growing. And if you're saying, hey, as I get to know you,
Hmm.
right? Or as we get to know each other, we should be learning things like, okay, like that's like when I talk about certain things, she doesn't like it, right? So you know what? If it's not something bad, right? Okay, I'll talk about it. I just won't talk about it in your presence, right? But I think it's a case by case thing. I think that just if you want me to be there for you, give me an opportunity to be there for you. Don't say you want me to be there for
Can
you
I
and then
just
you just like completely close me off.
Go ahead. You guys, I
right?
have the
Can
time
I
if you
say
have
one more thing?
yes, we're if you don't have to go
Oh,
right now,
I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. So I
because I
was
got
gonna
some
say,
more too.
but
So
I was
please
gonna
say it.
say, yes, I was gonna say what I said to Gemstone, and I did answer her. I didn't know she was directing the question towards Rodney, but I did tell her that we as women, we have to also realize and give the man time to digest what has been said or done. You can't give a like, say for an example, you've gone through a trauma with a person, okay, and this is something from my personal experience, so I'm telling you what I know. You've gone through a traumatic situation with a person. You've decided that that person is still going to be a part of your life. You're going through the steps that it's taking you to work through that trauma, but you also have to give that individual the opportunity to digest what is being said and done, because you can't drop a bomb on somebody and then just expect them to conform to what you want. There's no time frame on healing, and that's
Yeah.
where people mess up at. You don't have a certain time that you heal from whatever traumatic situation it may be. So, what you have to do is be willing to be a participant in the healing process and
Hmm.
allow them to digest what's being done as you've been allowed the time to heal from what's been done to you.
I think I think that's why it's important to be patient. And even in
Yeah,
the Bible it says love is patient, right? So it's a part of loving
absolutely.
somebody. So I think being patient and understanding is a part of it, but I think it has to go both ways. And
Absolutely.
and don't beat me up in the midst of my patience and my understanding. And if you do, like, okay, to a certain extent, but at some point you got to recognize, you have to recognize and understand, wait a minute, this person is here for me. This person is here. What you say, Tammy, and all my craziness. This person is here for me and all
Really,
of my craziness.
you have to
Let
be.
me let, but I don't think, and men are guilty of this too. Men are guilty of this too.
I think we all
But
are, Rodney. I think we won't leave you out
yeah,
there alone. I think
but I think,
we are. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that regardless of what it is, I think that, I think that we are so used to living in a cruel society that when people do come along that actually care about us, we treat those people the way that we should treat the mother jokers. Like, we'll be nice and kind and put up with things
Yes.
from the people
Woo.
who are who are, let's just say, abusive, right? We'll put up with those people. But the person who actually
Woo,
loves us and
Rodney, you
cares about
preaching.
us,
Woo, you
He
preaching.
really need to go and say people who are on that shit. Like we,
yeah,
I mean,
like
really,
we
just
like
say what it is. People who are really about bullshit. That's really what it is. And then here
I'm a
comes.
principal.
Basically.
I tell him I'm a principal. I can't cuss
Oh,
on
it's
the
a
app.
word. It's a word they need to know all that. Sometimes you have to say things in a different way to
No,
get it
but
on our cross.
no, but I think, but oftentimes we do that to people, and we will invite the mess, right? But push away the
Yeah,
love, and then we'll complain about it, and you know, we just got to stop. Like, we
exactly.
are all smart enough to know, and maybe in some cases we're too damaged to realize, I don't know, but we are all smart enough to know when somebody is mistreating us and when somebody is treating us right. And we have to get out of this mentality. I don't know where it comes from, but we have to get out of this mentality where um, we just accept everything but the right thing, because we drive the wrong people out of our lives when we do that. We give hall passes to criminals,
Mhm.
and then we want to arrest the person who makes one mistake.
One mistake.
We have to get out of that. And you know, convenience is another thing. Sorry, and I didn't mean to go into all of this, but I think that plays a huge part in dating and relationships. We get into situations because it's convenient, or we allow people to treat us like conveniences. And then when it's no longer convenient, the marriage is over, the relationship is over. And you wonder how people went from, smiling and cheesing on Facebook to, all of a sudden they're not even friends on Facebook anymore. You know, but
Mhm.
again, people get into relationships for all the wrong reasons.
I agree. You guys, I want to come back with and Angela, if we would love to have you come back and discuss this stages of dating. Um, Rodney said hit some things on the nail with um, and I'm going to speak for women. And I'm going to be very candid and speak for myself. It came to a point where I realized that I was so damaged and so broken. Um, and I got to this point and I started to look back and realize that I had missed some great guys, that I had put this wall up. And if they broke through the wall, there was a bridge. And if they got over the bridge, there was a lake full of alligators or something. And if they got through that, there was something else. And then it came to this point or that I was sitting across from someone and I had did my work, like Angela started out. I had got to a place, I had started to taste freedom, because I'm realizing now that I must continue the journey of freedom in order to be free. And one reason is because I allowed so much to go undone. The trauma, we talked about that, the unresolved issues, all those things that I had left undone. And I found myself sitting in front of someone who opened up to me, a man who opened up to me like no other man had. And this was no sweat involved. Okay, let me just be clear in that. As we say, too much happens before, how does he say it? Things happen before the sweat dries, or something like that, Trent says. But I realized that I could no longer run. And if I ran, it was my issue, if that makes sense. And so Rodney touched on that a little bit, because again, we bring too much into it, and then, not saying that it's not serious, because going there with someone, choosing to do life with someone, is one of the most difficult things, but to me it is also one of the most beautiful things, if you allow it to allow the both of you to grow and grow together and show up for each other, even in the midst of craziness. So when we're back, we want to talk more about stages of relationships and how we show up individually in those stages, and where does that come from? Like, what are we bringing into stage one? What is stage one? And it might be different for all of us, but let's talk about those 5 stages of relationships. And some of you may have more. And then how we as women, because I think that there's just some things. I used to tell Brandon, be careful what you say to a woman, because she hears with her heart, not with her ears.
Mm.
Like, we hear you, but I told him, you can walk by and you can say, hey, hello, to a lady, and things are running through her mind. Oh, wow, that you never, that you never imagined. Like, it just depends on where she is and how you said it. If the sun's shining, if it's
Absolutely.
all that. But let's come back, and we hope you guys will join us, and send us your comments, your questions that you want us to ask. What stages do you think you're in? What do you think the stages are? And maybe we need to start having the conversation, because again, you guys, I think relationships and marriage is one of the most beautiful things that we can do, because
Hmm.
it's a foundation, not just for us, but for our babies. And I often wonder how two people can be so in love and spend so much money and walk down this aisle or stand before someone and say, I do, and create life together. And as Rodney said, end up hating each other. He didn't say it in that way, but he said maybe not friends on Facebook or whatever, but end up just almost hating each other. And I can almost take almost out, because in most times there's such a dislike until you have your babies looking at you all, because you're their one and they're one. Like, you are them. So even if we
I
decide
definitely have a lot on that topic.
I would love it. So let's just will you come back in 2 weeks?
Will, absolutely.
Okay. So, Rodney, I guess we'll do the stages of relationship, and for our listeners, and we'll get a bit deeper. I'll share more about that moment when all I could do is sob. And that could have been a reason for somebody to run, because they're probably like, oh my God. But it's a beautiful thing, because I thought, wow, I can't run anymore.
Hmm.
I can't run, because, and what I mean by that, I'm like, you just get this expectation that, oh, just another dog. It's going to be the same. So why do I need to show up? I'm just keeping it real and
Yeah.
being serious with you. So, Rodney, someone says you're right, Rodney, but if you spoke with them about something that bothers you and they ignore it, then what? Not sure where that. Rodney, I got lost in that one. I don't know where you were and when they were asking that.
If they ignore it, they do it what you said. Move on.
See ya. Yes, see ya. Peace, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to be friends, you guys, too. Like, you got to be able to play together, laugh, get mad, and you just have to choose the person that you want to do life with, but still keep you. Keep who you are. Still be you. There's somebody out
And
there that
never cease to
just the way
date.
that you are.
Never cease to date. Keep dating.
Seriously.
Don't get complacent.
That's right. Yeah, keep it alive. Keep it alive. So, okay, you guys. So we've gone way over time. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you, Angela. We'll get together and set up the next one 2 weeks out, you guys, and then I think after that we'll have Gemstone on, and there's somebody else, Deshaun. I forget his last name. We're going to be bringing back Marriage is Not for Everyone. We had some people get the book, and we're going to have them on, a guy and a girl, lady and a man. We're going to come back and we're going to have a discussion about marriage is not for everyone. Maybe dating's not for everyone. I don't know. But we'll keep you guys posted. Thanks, Angela. Rodney, any final
Thank
words?
you.
No, this was great. I'm looking forward to discussing it further in a couple weeks.
All right. We want to hear about your representatives, guys, you guys. So until 2 weeks, we'll
Angela,
be
it was
back
good to
in
meet
2
you.
weeks. Thanks,
You
everyone.
too. Thank you so much.
Honeybees,
All right. Bye-bye.
_customs, right, Angela? Is that right? I may
Yes.
have. Okay. Check them
Yes.
out, you guys. Check them out. All right. Great night.